Hold on a second. You're telling me 59% of the fan base would consider trading Micah Parsons? Let's talk, Cowboys. We're about to talk facts. Welcome, Cowboy fans and Cowboy haters alike. I'm the G, and I'm the host of Let's Talk Cowboys, where we talk facts. And if you like this video, please, at the end, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know every time we post a video on Let's Talk Cowboys. Now let's talk facts. There's some drama going on X. And it is being reported, it looks like by SB Nation NFL, that there are 59% of Cowboy fans that would consider trading Micah Parsons. And of course, there are a lot of people who are either agreeing, disagreeing. It's just a madhouse over here on X. It says here 59% of Cowboy fans would consider trading Micah Parsons instead of signing a big contract. Now, people will immediately start attacking you if you say things like this. People say things like, you don't know football, you're crazy, you're insane, you're not a Cowboy fan, all kinds of blah, blah, blah stuff. And then there are some people who will tell you that you're smart about this, you're wise, and I would too, and blah, blah, blah. But what I want to discuss in this video is the reasons why people feel like this. I'm going to read some of the comments first, but then I'm going to give you 4 reasons why I believe, based on what I've seen, based on what I heard, and even based some on my own opinion, why people may feel like this, and I'm not going to condemn either way. Let's look at some of the comments. Petty Cowboys fan says, I mean, it's actually not that insane. If Dallas isn't going to seriously contend, then what's the difference if Micah is here or not? Last thing you want is to have the 2 highest paid players in the NFL while still going 8-9. Micah is a beast, but Dallas has so many holes. Somebody answers up under him, pump fake. They can fill their needs without trading Parsons. The cap is contrived by the billionaire owners as an excuse not to pay a player. Jeff Webb says, probably because we know the only way to add talent on this team is with draft picks. If the team would legitimately use all avenues to add talent, I'm all for signing their own. If not, makes no sense to re-sign players. Oakland Athletics model. Jason Tim says, you should always consider a trade for anyone. Doesn't mean you should do it unless the return is something you just can't turn down. If someone was to offer 3 1s and a 2, you wouldn't consider it? God has the last vote says, 59% of Cowboys fans have no clue what they're saying. They've been so influenced by the social media general managers that rational thought has become foreign to them. Total idiocy to even contemplate trading Micah. Dylan Carlson says, Dallas fans have been gaslighted into thinking Cowboys are broke. Jacob W. says, what's not to understand? Micah, unfortunately, doesn't give us more DBs, defensive tackles, and linebackers help if he's rushing the passer all the time. We need all of that. Cowboy fans want something new. Micah is the best chance to recoup assets for a rebuild. Dak and Lamb too. It won't happen though. DFW Sportsman says, not that I'm on that train, but I think the argument is that you could sign 2 guys in this range plus picks for the price of Micah potentially. And that's just a few replies. It looks like that Dan Rogers is the one who copied that, but it looked like it's on something called SB Nation NFL. You can go and read a lot of the comments yourself. There are tons of comments on this, and it's gaining and gaining and gaining. And I'm going to give you 4 reasons, like I said, 4 reasons why people may want Micah traded. And I think when you think about this in totality, one of the things that bothers me at times about Cowboys fans in particular, they're so aggressive. Some are so toxic. There are a lot who are very reasonable, but there is a toxic part of this fan base that they are just crazy. They're always attacking, whether it be a fan or other fans. They think they're the know-it-all. They attack players and all these different things. And what I like to do is, to the best of my ability, is I like to speak facts based on what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing as far as stats, and, even in what some of the people who I trust know football say. So these are the 4 reasons why I believe that this may be transpiring. 1, some people would like to add more players. They would like to add more players. And I think what comes to mind is when Jimmy Johnson did the infamous Herschel Walker trade. And so people are always looking for that player for the Cowboys that can help us repeat history. That maybe if they traded Micah Parsons for 3 first-round draft picks. And so the issue becomes, when I hear people say stuff like, 59% of the Cowboys fans would consider trading Micah Parsons instead of signing a big contract, and then some people try to say, the other 41% are dumb. Well, I'm not going to say you're dumb, but there's something wrong with you if you're not at least going to consider that if someone's going to give you 3 first-round draft picks for Micah Parsons, you're not going to consider it? Someone offers you 2 twos and they offer you 2 number 1s and 2 twos, and you're not going to consider it? I've said it once, I'll say it again. You cannot tell me that Micah Parsons is such a generational player that he takes the place of 4 absolute, let's just say you get 2 elite players and 2 great players. You're telling me that that's not better than Micah Parsons? You're telling me that 2 defensive ends, a great safety, and a great corner would not be better than Micah Parsons? You would actually be crazy not to consider that. And so the issue is with some people, they just want to add players. They want to add players. And you saw what one of the commenters said. I think there may be some validity to what he said. Micah Parsons cannot tilt this team into a championship from the defensive end position alone. Or just, and let me say this, rushing the passer. Now, if they were using Micah Parsons in more versatile ways, lining him up at defensive end and linebacker and doing all kinds of things with him, with his tremendous athletic ability, maybe he could make more of an impact. But there's a reason why when he goes up against the bigger tackles, he doesn't really make the impact, and so he's not as effective. But I say that what some people want to do, they're looking at the fact that this team needs players. We won't play in free agency. We won't do any. We won't make any trades. So people are trying to figure out what is the best way for this team to get players. And so it's just as simple and innocent as that with some people. Number 2, and I know this is going to rub some people the wrong way, but some actually look at his performance. And it's not his performance against the average to bad teams. It's his performance against the good to great teams. The word is out. Whether people accept it or not, but when you start looking statistically, when you look at the tape, Micah Parsons has tended to kind of fade away down the stretch. He disappears in some of the biggest games. The Cincinnati Bengals game, anybody? He registered zeros across the box score. And some were run to the quarterback pressures. It's a very cute stat. I'm not knocking it, but it's a cute stat because just because you got a quarterback pressure, you didn't get the quarterback. What did that quarterback pressure equal to? Did it get you an interception? Did it get you a strip sack? Did it lead to a strip sack fumble by someone else? You could go down the rabbit hole on this whole quarterback pressure thing. But at the end of the day, what you really want from Micah Parsons is sacks and tackles. And when you look in the big games, those are far and in between. You can even go back to the Green Bay playoff game last year. I think it was maybe either one tackle, but I think it was one assisted tackle. Nothing else. And so some people are saying he's not as good as some people say, because what is the signature game? Right now, Micah Parsons is out there in the media. He's doing a whole lot of talking, and I wish he wouldn't do it. Because when you start doing all this talking, you have no leverage in any kind of negotiations. But he's saying he doesn't want to be the highest paid player, 40 and 30 million. There's no difference, which, of course, he hasn't even been offered 40 million. Number two, 30 million puts you at number 2 on the defensive end list. But I digress. He's out there negotiating in the court of public opinion. He wants to be a Cowboy for life. He's saying all of these things. But in the reality in some people's minds is they don't even want him to be the second highest paid defensive end, because in the minds of some, he's not the best defensive end nor the second best defensive end. And you can go look at stats, and people want to go deep. Oh, let's dig into the quarterback pressures. I notice people do this a lot. Again, quarterback pressures, they are what they are, but to me, it's really a cute stat, because at the end of the day, I don't want to know as much about the quarterback pressures and the double teams. I want to know, if you're going to go into that stat, what did they lead to? Did you beat some of the double teams? How many sacks are you getting? And it's not just how many, because you can rack up a lot of sacks against the average to bad teams, but are you racking up sacks against good to great teams and making huge differences in games to where you have made a game-changing play in a very big game that swung it back into the team's favor? A lot of people are saying that he's not doing that, because they're saying he's not really the best in the position. They're saying that. And so I think this is one of the reasons why people are having some of this backlash, because you think about the quarterback position. It's a little bit different. The quarterback position is typically next man up. If your performance has been good to great, the next quarterback up is typically the highest paid quarterback. It's been that way for years. Love it or like it, it's been that way for years. And it's going to be very interesting what happens with Brock Purdy. Will Brock Purdy try to exceed the Dak Prescott $60 million deal, which I don't think he is. And so, this is what happens in the quarterback position. But when you look at some of these other positions, while it happens next man up, but the reality is you literally have to be top 1, 2, or 3 to get the top money at positions. It's not just next man up. It's how have you performed. That's why CeeDee Lamb, you notice, he didn't exceed Justin Jefferson. Because the reality is, Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in football. He is. CeeDee Lamb is top 3. You can argue whether he's the 2 or the 3. But he's top 3. And he got number 2 money, which ain't bad money. Let's not sneeze at that. He got the second highest paid money, which in reality, he probably has the most money, because when you look at the tax brackets or the state taxes, I'm sure they have in Minnesota versus what they have in Texas, he's probably making the most money. And so the reality is, this is what some people think. And then when you get the number 3, some people, and let's just be real, they don't think Micah Parsons is serious enough about football. They don't. And the reason why they don't think he's serious enough about football is because of his podcast. That rubs a lot of fans the wrong way, especially when he's saying things on his podcast. He's saying things on his podcast that bring shame to his own players sometime. Or he's saying things that players on his team have to answer for. People have been very perturbed with him because he's had opposing players or players from opposing teams on his podcast. I mean, I think Darius Slay is one that comes to mind. And even Mike McCarthy has alluded to the fact that the more time you spend on doing other things, the less time you spend on football things. Dak Prescott has even alluded to that. And there are many fans who do not like the fact that he does the podcast. Which leads me to the fourth and final thing. Some people think he's a distraction. Some people think he is a distraction. Again, because of his podcast, the things that he says on the podcast. But let's go a little bit further. The things that he says in his press conferences, his post-game press conferences, the thing that he did on the sideline in the Cincinnati Bengals game. I mean, there are things, and you don't have to like it, you don't have to love it, but at the end of the day, an argument could be made that some of these things are true. Some people say he's not a leader. Some people say he's not a leader. Because it's like he's trying to take over the leadership, but he's not doing leadership things. Typically, the way someone becomes a leader on a team is their performance on the field. And last but not least, some believe he's overhyped. Some believe he's overhyped. And the reality is in this, whether people love it, like it, or hate it, some of all of this is true. Some of all of this is true about Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons has become a very polarizing figure for the Dallas Cowboys. And one of the things about Micah Parsons that I actually don't like is that he seems to be a reflection of the owner. He loves the media. He loves the microphone in front of him. He's always saying so many things, and he always wonders why so many things he says gets twisted in the wrong way. Well, it's not that they're getting twisted in the wrong way. No, in actuality, he says things in the wrong way or says things in a way to where they can be taken in the wrong way. His performances, they're not always what you think they should be. I mean, there are a plethora of these things that I've discussed that no matter how you slice it, some of it is true. And all of it may be true, or parts of all of it may be true in the eyes of all or in the eyes of some. And as I close, it makes me wonder, I mean, how many people did they actually poll? I mean, when you say 59%, I mean 59% of how many? Because I didn't get a chance to get in the poll. I'm sure some of you didn't get a chance to get in the poll. Was it 1,000? Was it 10,000? Was it 20,000? A million? How many people was it? But I do say, let's be cautious in calling the 59% of the people who would consider trading Micah Parsons. Let's stop trying to act like they're dumb. Let's not call them stupid. Because in that 59%, there is some validity probably to how they feel. There is some validity based on performance, based on the field, based on off the field, based on the tape, based on the statistics, based on everything that I mentioned. So let's be careful, because some of all of these things are probably true. And it comes with the territory. The Dallas Cowboys is always about, it seems like ever since the last Super Bowl, it's always been with this team. It's the culture now. It's always been the coulda, the woulda, the shouldas. It's always someone's fault in particular. It's always, especially on this team, it's always the quarterback's fault. It was Tony Romo's fault when he was here. Now it's Dak Prescott's fault that he's here. But at the end of the day, a whole lot of this stuff, it still goes back to the GM/owner. This is the culture that he's created. And Micah Parsons, in some respects, he is the epitome of this culture. Is Micah Parsons elite? Yeah, he's elite. Is he a great player? Yes, he's a great player. Does he still have some growing to do? Yes, he does. Can he get better as a player? Yes, he can. A combination of these things can be true. And for me, does he talk a little too much? I think he talks a lot of too much. I think he is his own worst enemy, whether he realizes it or not. And he's the epitome of the culture that the owner has created, because they're on the radio every week. He's coming into the locker room, coming out of the locker room after every game, giving a press conference. And so Micah Parsons, he's always giving the press conferences. He's always doing the podcast on Mondays and saying things about not just the team, but the league. He is starting to be a reflection of what this team is. It's media driven. Now we got the other circus coming to town next year with Netflix. I mean, this team is starting to seem like a marketing agency that plays football. And this is also part of the reason why some of the people feel a certain type of way about Micah Parsons. But y'all tell me what y'all think. I mean, would y'all at least consider trading Micah Parsons for 3 1s or 2 number 1s and 2 number 2s? Or do you really think he's that game changing to where there is no reason that the Cowboys should trade him? Tell me what you think in the comments. If you like this video, again, please like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, so you know the next time when we post another video on Let's Talk Cowboys, where we talk facts. Peace.